There's been a flood of rumors and speculation about what's next for Universal Orlando, especially with the recent opening of Epic Universe right here in Orlando, Florida. It's easily one of the most significant theme park openings in the world in recent years, and watching an entirely new park come to life is nothing short of exhilarating. It sparks a lot of excitement for what the future might hold. Even Universal CEO Mark Woodbury has hinted that they're not slowing down. He's famously said his favorite attraction is always the next one, and he's still saying it even after Epic. So that naturally raises the question, what's next for Universal Orlando? What could possibly follow a park of this scale? Without a doubt, Universal is the most exciting development pipeline of any resort, not just in Orlando, but arguably anywhere in the world. The possibilities are endless. In recent videos, I've broken down what might be coming next and focused on specific areas of the resort. But today I want to go even bigger. Let's explore a possible timeline, my personal predictions based on rumors, industry trends, and speculation, but also what I think would be best for the parks. So let's start by looking back for some context. Well, in 2025, Epic Universe debuted with massive new attractions like Stardust Racers, Monsters Unchained, The Frankenstein Experiments, and Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. Before that, in 2024, brought DreamWorks Land to Universal Studios Florida with new attractions like the DreamWorks Imagination Celebration and renovations like Trolls Troller Coaster. And in 2023, we saw the arrival of VillainCon Minion Blast replacing Shrek 4D. But if you've been paying attention, Islands of Adventure hasn't seen a major addition in a few years. That said, their last two, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure in 2019 and Jurassic World Velocicoaster in 2021, are considered two of the best attractions in the world. So it's very understandable that Islands has taken a bit of a breather since then. But that said, the same can be said for Epic Universe. With such a massive opening, we likely won't see major additions there for a few years. But there's still plenty of undeveloped spaces and endless potential. In fact, all three parks have plenty of room to grow. Universal Studios Florida has a number of aging attractions that could be replaced or refreshed. Islands of Adventure could benefit from a broader revitalization, with some areas feeling outdated or underutilized. And Epic Universe is just getting started. Looking ahead to 2026, I don't expect to see any major additions, and that's fair. Universal deserves a gap year after the monumental effort that went into opening Epic Universe. But beyond that, the future looks bright, and I can't wait to explore what could be on the horizon. There's no rush right now, but 2026 is when we'll likely start seeing early development across Universal Orlando's current parks. One of the biggest confirmed changes on that horizon is the closure of Hollywood Red Rocket, set for August 18, 2025. This coaster, which has thrilled guests since 2009, holds a special place in my heart. It was the ride that genuinely got me into coasters in the first place. If it wasn't for this ride, I wouldn't be talking to y'all today. But that said, I don't expect its replacement to debut in 2026. Based on the timing and logistics, I'm predicting an early 2027 opening, and here's why. The scheduled closure in mid-August lines up just 2 weeks before Halloween Horror Nights kicks off, arguably Universal's biggest event of the year. And that's a tricky time to start major demolition, especially since HHN takes up a lot of the backstage area near the sound stages, and guests will be flowing through that area daily. And what's right in that area? Hollywood Red Rocket. While it is a relatively compact coaster, removing it during HHN could be very complicated. It's possible the teardown won't even begin until the event wraps up in early November, and if that's the case, the removal and construction process will likely be gradual. But Universal could move quickly and demolish the coaster by October, or maybe even get it down before the event even starts, which would be a miracle. We would see a sooner turnaround, but realistically, a March to May opening in 2027 feels like a safe bet. As for 2026, while I don't expect any major ride openings, I do think we'll see significant development begin. One key area to watch is the Lost Continent at Universal Islands of Adventure. Ever since Poseidon's Fury closed, the land has felt dormant. The standout restaurant Mythos remains, but the land itself is missing a major draw, with rumors pointing towards a long-anticipated Legends of Zelda land. This could finally be the year it moves into full development. At the same time, over at Universal Studios Florida, Fast and Furious Supercharged seems to be on the chopping block, with the debut of Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift at Universal Studios Hollywood and the closure of their own Supercharged segment on the tram tour. It's becoming clear that Universal is phasing out of the older ride. And since the rumored Red Rocket replacement is the exact same theme, model, and attraction at Hollywood, manufactured by Intamin, well then there's a strong chance we'll see Supercharged close in 2026 to make way for a new part of that experience. It's a little wild to think Supercharged will only have lasted 8 years, but let's be honest, it was never well received, and its removal would be welcomed by many. I also think 2026 will finally bring a closure date to Krusty Land and the Springfield area. With Disney now owning the Simpsons IP, Universal will want to move away from the property, and the land itself feels outdated, and its removal would open up valuable real estate for something fresh. So to sum up 2026, we likely won't see new attractions open, but we'll see a lot of major groundwork. Several closures, a few announcements, and early construction activity will set the stage for what's next. In 2027, things will start to ramp up. I expect the Intamin coaster replacement of Red Rocket's debut, potentially being the best coaster at Universal Studios Florida and a much-needed headliner for the park as a whole to stand alongside the likes of Great God's Revenge of the Mummy and the former Rocket. And around that same time, development at Islands of Adventure will be in full swing. If The Legend of Zelda is indeed coming, this will likely be when Universal officially announces the land. Meanwhile, over at Studios, I expect we'll also hear confirmation of the rumored Pokemon land, a project that has been rumored for years and finally feels closer than ever. However, also on the horizon for 2027 is Volcano Bay's 10-year anniversary, and I think that's when we'll finally see the water park receive a new major addition. It's been quiet for nearly a decade now. There have been no new slides or expansions since the park opened in 2017. A new slide or unique family experience could be just what it needs to reignite interest and compete with other water parks. I made a video about this a little while back, so you can check it out for more details on this possible expansion. Looking ahead to 2028, this could be a massive year. If all goes to plan, we could see both Zelda and Pokemon lands open around the same time. That would give Universal two major expansions, just as Disney's expected to debut the new Cars attraction in Magic Kingdom. Perfectly timed competition. These new lands would also spread out Nintendo properties across all three parks, with Super Nintendo World at Epic Universe, Legends of Zelda at Islands of Adventure, and Pokemon at Universal Studios Florida. Much like the Harry Potter franchise spans all three parks. It's a smart way to strengthen each gate with a very beloved IP. Pokemon Land happens. I wouldn't be surprised if the main attraction is a roller coaster, possibly something inspired like the mock inverted power coaster at Universal Beijing. And of course, expect heavy interactive elements like catching Pokemon and maybe filling out your own Pokédex, kind of like how the power bands work at Super Nintendo World. This would be a very smart addition. Meanwhile, Zelda Land could replace Poseidon's Fury to become an immersive experience filled with exploration, storytelling, have that be the major e-ticket attraction, could hold the show where the Sinbad stage was, do a simple re-theme of Mythos to have an incredible sit-down restaurant experience, and it would just elevate Universal's portfolio even further. Now we enter 2029. This is likely when Universal will finally invest some money into Epic Universe again, and they will get its next major addition. Rumors have been long pointed to a Creature from the Black Lagoon boat ride coming to Dark Universe. It seems to be the most heavily rumored attraction for the park so far, and after a few years of letting the park settle and fine-tune operations, this would be a perfect time for the expansion. There's also talks of a Luigi's Mansion attraction as a future update to Nintendo World. Adding another franchise to the land would be a brilliant move, reinforcing Epic Universe as the most IP diverse park in the resort. However, I don't think that would come in 2029. The future of Universal Orlando is nothing short of thrilling with all these iconic franchises, and this is just the next 5 years. The next 5 years are very hard to truly speculate since we have no rumors on it. It's really just me pulling things out and thinking what would be the best for Universal and what would make the most sense as a whole. So as we approach 2030, I expect this is when we'll see the new attraction debut at Epic. It would make perfect sense, and we'll also see construction develop on that Luigi's Mansion attraction if that still is going to come into play. It would make perfect sense. It's 5 years after the park's grand opening. What better way to celebrate that milestone than by introducing the all-new experience? This addition would not only refresh interest in the park, but would solidify its Epic position as a long-term draw for Universal. When you move into 2031, things get especially exciting because this is when I believe we'll begin to see some major changes across Universal's two parks, especially Islands of Adventure. Two lanes to keep an eye on are Toon Lagoon and even Marvel Superhero Island. While both have iconic rides, the IPs in Toon Lagoon feel outdated. The land could really benefit from a complete reimagining, something that connects with modern audiences the same way newer lands like Nintendo or the Wizarding World have. Marvel Superhero Island presents a different challenge. With Disney now owning Marvel, Universal hands are tied when it comes to updates or additions. I think Universal will eventually decide to retheme the entire area. Hulk could easily be reskinned and rethemed. I mean, there's a literal clone of it in Beijing as Decepticoaster, and attractions like Stormport's Accelatron or Doctor Doom's Fearfall could easily be refreshed or completely replaced entirely. The biggest challenge would easily be Spider-Man. It's a legendary dark ride, but if anyone could build a worthy successor, it's Universal Creative. They might use this as an opportunity to create a brand new dark ride altogether. However, a reskinned version of this ride wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I just know if you're taking down Spider-Man for any means, you need to replace it with something truly legendary. And at the same time, I think this is also when we'll finally get the announcement on the 6th portal at Epic Universe and start really seeing construction go underway. This has been heavily rumored for years, with Wicked being the most talked about themed land. However, Lord of the Rings has been another potential fit. The park's layout even teases this possibility. Those missing portal slots at the hub gates aren't just for show. There's also rumor of a 7th portal coming down the line, but I feel like this is far less likely in the near future. Not really going to discuss that in the 10-year plan because it just doesn't really make a lot of sense for it to come that soon, but the 6th seems all but inevitable. Looking at 2032 or 2033, assuming the Luigi's Mansion expansion to Nintendo is still in the works and finally opens up, I believe this will be the next major addition to Epic Universe. It would just make sense come the following year. This is when those expansions to Islands of Adventure will finally open up. I think it makes the most amount of sense after those renovations are done. But now we look at 2034, and this is when my wildest rumor possibly comes into play. But I truly believe this will be the year Universal announces its next theme park. I know, it sounds bold, but here's the logic. With Epic Universe and Volcano Bay, Universal now markets itself as a 4-park destination. Adding a 5th would allow them to claim they offer more parks than Disney, even if technically Disney has 2 water parks, so they technically have 6 parks as a whole. From a marketing perspective, though, that distinction does matter. The new park could be a game changer. Universal still has a significant land available near Epic Universe, and history has shown that when they go big, like they did with Epic, it pays off in a huge way. A 5th gate would elevate Universal Orlando to a whole new level, especially if Disney continues to avoid committing to a 5th gate of their own at Walt Disney World. Even though it would be their 4th dry park, it would still say they are tied with Disney for the amount of parks, offering just as many experiences, which is huge from a marketing standpoint. I mean, looking at Disney, they've made some major announcements lately, like Disney Adventure World in Paris nearing opening, and the brand new theme park of Disney's Abu Dhabi, and big expansions to Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Magic Kingdom. All of those are exciting, but it also means they're likely stretched too thin to focus on building a new park in Orlando anytime soon. This will also be right after Universal Studios Great Britain is supposed to open, so it would just make sense for the development of another new park to come into fruition. In the meantime, Universal has an opportunity to seize the moment. Between epic expansions, renovations to islands and studios, a possible Volcano Bay upgrade, with so many new lands like Pokemon, Zelda, and so much more, they're setting themselves up for a decade of dominance. Of course, other changes could happen too, like the possible closures of Jimmy Fallon, Men in Black, or the Fear Factor stage. There's no clear indication yet, but these spaces have been rumored to possibly go in the near future. All in all, this would be a brilliant timeline as we have here for Universal. Islands and Studios get the updates they desperately need. Epic Universe expands in a big way. Volcano Bay will finally get some love. And then we finish the decade off with an announcement of a brand new theme park to the resort. I mean, on paper, it just makes perfect sense. Universal clearly has the most momentum right now and the biggest opportunity ahead of them. But I want to know what you think. What additions would you like to see make it to Universal in the next 10 years? And would you want to see a similar timeline breakdown for Disney? Well, drop a comment below and let's keep that conversation going. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive into the future of theme parks, well, please like and subscribe, as that is the best way to support the channel and see more videos like this. And with that, this is Hunter from Theme Park Hunting, and I will see you all later.